Look at this, folks. 7-inch singles. Not only that, second-hand 7-inch singles. I've been collecting these and I'm going to be playing them at a crazy, crazy gig this Friday, which I'm quite nervous about. Be quite honest with you. I'll tell you why, I'll tell you what the plan is, and I'll talk you through my preparations in a minute. The purpose of today's live lesson here from the studios, as ever, of Digital DJ Tips is to talk you through preparing for DJ sets, especially if there's a particular event that you're particularly nervous about. Because all the things I'm going through doing this are the same things I've gone through for the last 40 years whenever I've prepared for any gig. But I feel a bit like you. I feel a bit like you if you're preparing for something special, because I don't DJ very often nowadays. And obviously DJing with this kind of thing is very different to the kind of DJing we teach and the kind of DJing I'm more used to with this kind of stuff, where you've got all the tools in front of you and where you're playing with sync and with digital music and no one can jog your records and all that stuff. It's going to be very different DJing with this. So I think it might be a nice idea to kind of fill you in on why I'm doing this and, you know, what the preparations I've made are to help you, as I say. Okay, so what's going on? What's this all about? Well, here where Digital DJ Tips is based, in a tiny little rock in the Mediterranean, just between Africa and Spain, called Gibraltar. Here in Gibraltar, there is a special gig this Friday. It's called Back to the Classics. This is their ticket site. And Back to the Classics is a Gibraltar musicians-led event where we take over a football stadium just behind Digital DJ Tips here. We're in a big World Trade Center complex here. That's where Digital DJ Tips is based. But behind this World Trade Center complex, literally just there, is the football stadium. And they're in there, setting up a big stage, sold tickets all over the place, and this is the gig, Back to the Classics. And the Gibraltar musicians are going to be playing basically 4 hours of classic music, literally just like all the stuff that you hear at weddings, all the favourite rock songs you like, all the favourite pop music you like. It's a real fun event where it's not taking itself too seriously. It's just literally real live musicians playing classic tracks, right? For fun. And I'm closing it. I'm closing the whole thing off. There's another DJ, Michael, who's opening it, and then I'm closing it. And the reason that I've decided to kind of like accept this gig is this. It's 7-inch singles, because I figured if it's going to be a retro event, if it's going to be musicians playing music from the 70s and 80s and 90s and noughties, then what better than to have the actual original 7-inch singles of some of the other great songs from that time and play some of those to close the show off for the final hour. So I spoke to my friend who's promoting it and said, why don't we have a go at this? And he's like, yeah, okay, let's do it. But the problem is that I haven't done this for a long, long time. I actually started DJing on 7-inch singles in the 80s, but I didn't have any singles. And then a few pieces fell into place. The radio station here closed down its playing of vinyl and stuff many, many years ago, but they had all the stuff still in a back room. And so they decided to sell off their singles. And somewhere down the line, I got bags and bags of them. I obviously wasn't the first person to get to them. I could tell that by what was left. But there were hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of these, and I bought them for a couple of £100. And I went through them all, like literally 7 or 8 big bag for life shopping bags worth. And I managed to get 100, 150 that were worth keeping. And these are literally from Radio Gibraltar, a lot of these. But also then I started to get onto Discogs and started to buy 7-inch singles and so on to build up a little collection of just absolute classic music. So this is why I kind of put 2 and 2 together and said, why don't we do this? Why don't we play the original records from our radio station at the end of a gig where we're playing old music anyway? And he's like, yeah, let's do it. But of course, me being me, it wasn't as simple as to just say, okay, we'll take the Technics down and we'll get on with it. Oh no, that would have been too easy. So what I did was assemble some DJ gear that was as retro as the music that I'm playing it on, if not more so. And so here's a picture of the gear that I assembled and me playing on it. So you can see more clearly on the screen behind me there what the gear looks like. It is a couple of old turntables that are more like this one I've got here than these ones I've got over here. Battery powered little plastic turntables that are really designed to take and listen to music anywhere. They're from the 70s. Columbia used to make them. But I've got them, and I've got 2 of them, in fact, and I've got a mixer that works with them. You can see the mixer in the background of that picture. Let's have a look at a couple more pictures of the complete setup. So this is, apart from the genuine modern mixer I've got here on the left, on the right-hand side of my decks, which is necessary to feed a proper nice signal into the PA, you can see this is an extremely rudimental DJ setup. Its mixer is literally 2 up faders and a crossfader, and the crossfader is not really worth using because it dips too much in the middle. So I leave the crossfader in the middle and just use the 2 up faders. When you plug your headphones into this mixer, you don't have a Q button to put the other deck onto the headphones. No, one headphone is the left-hand deck and one ear cup's the right-hand deck. This is proper basic gear. But of course, that's part of the attraction. I spend my life teaching this stuff. I spend my life helping you guys with your problems, getting your drivers to work and your audio and your music compatibility to work on your standalones. And I don't want that away from my job. I want to do something that, I love music, I love DJing, but I want to do something that's the opposite. You can't get much more opposite than what I've just shown you with this stuff here. And so that's how this all came about. And that is what's happening on Friday. So you can see why I'm a bit nervous and why, if you're watching this thinking, I've got to play a gig and I'm nervous, I'm in your shoes right now. I know what those nerves feel like. I ran a marathon on Sunday in Edinburgh, and I was not as nervous about running 26 miles as I am about this gig on Friday. This is real. So let me talk you through the things I'm worried about and what I've done to prepare for them, and hopefully you'll get something out of this yourself as well. By the way, I'd love your comments about all of this. Tell me I'm mad. Tell me I shouldn't do it. Tell me you're looking forward to hearing next week how it all went. I'll come back next week and tell you. But okay, so let me tell you about the 3 things that I'm most worried about. The first thing I'm most worried about is that the gear, because of course it's not this, as I keep pointing out, it's this. The gear won't be up for it. The gear will let me down. Now, I have obviously thought this through a little bit, and I am hoping it won't let me down, but I've got no way of knowing that because it's going to be on a big festival stage. There's going to be massive bass bins pumping away. And maybe those decks aren't up for it. Maybe those needles are going to be jumping out the grooves. Now you can take a penny and blue tack it onto the top of the stylus and hope for the best there. But look, this is a really big worry. This is the one that's keeping me awake at night. The gear is not going to let me do it. Now it's all battery powered and stuff, but that's all right. I can charge all the batteries. But I'm going to be scared about that, right? That's real. So that's my first worry. So what have I done about that worry? Let's talk through what you do about your worries. So if you're going to be DJing a gig and you're worried that your computer's going to crash or your controller's going to become unresponsive or there's going to be a glitch in the audio, what do you do? Let me tell you what I've done, and then we'll talk about the bigger picture here. So what I've done is stick all of my music onto a DJ controller, an old-fashioned setup with a very modern setup sat next to it. This will be sat beside me, plugged into that mixer that you can see on the side in the picture there. Let's go back to my main picture there. That little Soundcraft mixer down there in the bottom corner. It will be sat next to that, and should there be an issue, I'll flip over to this, and I've got the same songs on here. I've got all the same songs. I'm going to talk you through the music in a minute. I've got all the same songs on here. So I'll be able to carry on, take over DJing on this. And of course, I'm going to practice on that. I've not even played on this for a while. I used to play all through lockdown. I played on this all the time, but I haven't played on this for a while. So I'm going to practice. I'm going to practice the switch over, and I'm going to practice playing on this as well, just to make sure that should the worst happen, I can do it. Doesn't actually get me out of the woods, which I'll talk to you about now, but that's going to be hopefully not necessary. And of course, we're going to have a sound check on the day, and I'm going to go down there and get it all turned up extremely loud, and we're going to pump music through it, and I'm going to hopefully find that it's not jumping. But hey, it's a real worry that I have there for sure. So the second thing I'm worried about, look on this picture again. Notice how behind me there's a screen showing what I'm doing. The whole point of this, the whole point is to put this on the big screens in the festival and to show the world what I'm actually doing. Because without that, then you've just got some slightly worn records with audio quality that's a little bit off compared to the modern digital versions, being mixed pretty rudimentarily by someone who you know ought to know better. If you don't know you can't see what's going on, because you can't mix on these turntables in any way that you can mix on this kind of gear here, because they've got a speed control, but it's just a knob and it's not very accurate. And obviously queuing and so on is a lot harder, and it's 7-inch singles on plastic decks. So you can DJ, you can keep things on the beat and you can keep everything moving, but you can't do all the stuff that people expect off modern DJ gear. And so if they can't see that I'm doing it all manually, I kind of look a bit bad. It's what I'm worried about, right? So if I have to switch to this, then I'm just playing old music kind of in a way that I haven't practiced on modern gear. I haven't practiced any tricks with it or anything. But if the camera fails, this is my big second worry. If the camera fails, so you can't see on that camera behind me what I'm doing, then on the screens around the stadium what I'm doing, then that kind of takes a bit of the fun away. And that's a worry because that's part of the whole thing here. So a bit of a worry there. And the third thing I'm worried about is me. What if I perform poorly? Now, this is universal, right? We all worry about gigs and if we're going to perform poorly. So how have I dealt with number 2 and number 3? Well, number 2, we're going to sound check, but also we're going to visual check. So I've got the cameras and so on all there already. We know what we're going to be doing with them. We're going to plug it all in and we're going to have it on the screens and we're going to know what we're doing, because at the end of the gig, when the last band goes off, we need to get me on quickly before people start leaving, because I've got to keep people there. And so we're going to practice getting everything set up like this. We're going to do that on the day and make sure that we're quick at it and that it works and that hopefully there'll be no issues. So we are, it's all about practice and preparation, really. As far as performing poorly, well, this is what I want to spend the next few minutes talking to you about. How you go from worrying about playing a DJ set to at least having half a sense that it's going to be all right. And this is actually very equivalent to what I did on Sunday when I went and ran a marathon, because if you're prepared for something like that, you're going to be so nervous on the start line. You're going to be so nervous when you play your first record, but you can't undo all the preparation you made. And that kicks in. That's kind of like muscle memory that kicks in, and it does help you over the line, which is, of course, what I'm hoping will happen here. So that involves practice. That involves actually spending a lot of time doing it on the gear you're going to be doing it on. And so my big advice here is twofold. One, know your gear inside out. And if you're going to be playing for an hour, practice playing for an hour over and over and over again with different music, and put yourself in different situations in your head. How would I deal with that? Don't stop. If you make mistakes, don't stop. Practice. Record your sets if you want to and listen back to them and see how you went. Because if you know you can do it in private, it's going to be a lot easier to do it in public. The worst thing to do is practice individual transitions and build up loads of music and think everything through and then turn up on the day and you've actually not played a DJ set for that length of time, if you're new to this ever, or if you haven't played for a while, for a long time, etc. So also what I've done is play 2 gigs down at the bar, the local bar where the promoter also runs a bar. Take the gear down there. I'm actually doing one tomorrow night, just as kind of like dress rehearsals, just like to get used to being in front of other people. And so look, practicing on the gear is really, really important that you're going to be DJing on. And if you're DJing on something like this and you've never used it before, then try and get practice on it. We actually published an article on Digital DJ Tips recently, specifically about CDJs. I'll show it to you. And so if you are asked to play in a big club on their gear and you're not used to it, there are things you can do. There's lots of things which will help you to switch to DJing on CDJs. If you head to Digital DJ Tips and find this article, Help, I need to play on CDJs for my next DJ gig, we talk you through tips about doing that. We talk you through how I teach our students here at Digital DJ Tips when they ask about this. But also there's a list of things you can do at the end, including a 2-hour tutorial by me on those, and also places that you can go and things you can do to ask the venue manager, for instance, if you can go down early and practice in there. But practicing on the stuff you're going to be DJing on is really, really important. So the final bit then about worrying about how you're going to perform is your music. So this is what I want to talk to you about now. I'm going to actually talk you through, rather than just say, yeah, you've got to know your music well and you've got to do this. I'm going to talk you through the music I've prepared for this particular DJ gig. Now, remember, I'm tied by, one, the music I got from these big bags of records that I bought on Facebook from Radio Gibraltar, and 2, the stuff I've managed to collect in the meantime. I can't just go on Beatport or iTunes store or whatever and just buy what I want. So I'm kind of constrained by what I've got, but I reckon I've got a reasonable amount of music here. But I want to show you how I've organized it and how I've thought about it. The first rule, the most important rule when you're planning your music for a DJ set, is to plan the music for that DJ set. Don't just turn up with everything you've got. I remember once we got a friend of mine to DJ, I'm going back 35 years now, got a friend of mine to DJ the second room at a club night we put on. We were DJing the first room and he had an amazing record collection. So we said, oh, just come and play some records. He's like, okay. But he turned up with all his records. I'm not joking. It was like he was moving house. I don't know where he got the transport from to get them all there. Just had the decks, and then all around him was like boxes and boxes and boxes. I'm like, dude, you're only playing for 2 hours. So look, if you're going to be playing a DJ set, take the music for the DJ set. And our rule here at Digital DJ Tips and what we teach our students, and if you haven't got the book, get the book. Just go to digitaldjtips.com and click the big pink join button at the top to get your copy of our Rock the Dance Floor book, where we talk through all of this. We have the 5 steps of DJing in the front, of which this one is saddling the line between music and mixing and performing. So you've got the music, you're learning to mix with it, but then you're getting into performing. What are you going to take with you? What music that you've learned to mix with are you going to take with you to play your DJ set with? So this is the book that you need to dig into this stuff. As I say, digitaldjtips.com/join to get your free copy. That quite often falls off there, by the way, when we're on these live shows. So if you watch it tumbling off in a second, you get a free little Easter egg here. So this is the rule: twice the amount of music you need for the set. So if you're playing, like I'm playing for an hour, I'm going to need 20 records, 25 records. I'm going to need to take 40 or 50 songs, which is exactly what I have here. 40 or 50 songs that I've prepared. I've got loads more at home, but these are the ones that are going with me. And this has been really strictly thought about. And the reason for this is very simple. It's because, one, I've had to think very carefully about each of these songs. Literally each of these songs I've had to think carefully about. 2, when I'm playing the gig, I'm not going to be spending all my time flicking through hundreds and hundreds of tunes, because I haven't got hundreds and hundreds of tunes. I've got tunes that I've thought about for this particular gig, so I can spend my time watching the crowd, interacting with the crowd, communicating with the crowd, seeing what they're into, seeing what they want, seeing what's working, more importantly, seeing what isn't working, and adopting a different stance if need be, but within the confines of this music that I've got. This is the key. About twice the music you need. Now with digital music, of course, you can take everything, but it doesn't mean you shouldn't pack a playlist and work from that playlist. And if you move out of that playlist for a request or for something that you've just got a hunch is going to work, move back to the playlist afterwards. I won't have that luxury because I'll only have this music with me. So that's the first thing, twice the music you need. The second thing, mini sets. Little chunks of music that you know work well together. You tend to play together. They remind you of each other. They're from a certain era or a certain place, or they've got a certain style, a certain feel about them. You don't have to be a purist about this. You just have to have a sense they belong together. You'll see that you don't have to be a purist about this in a second. The reason for that is that here I have 8 mini sets. I'll talk you through these mini sets in a minute. And they're all from the 80s and 90s. This is all from the heyday of the 7-inch single, right? A couple of tracks from the 70s, I think, as well. But this is the music I've got. I've got it sorted into these mini sets. So I know that if I'm playing from this pile, there's probably 2 or 3 more I can play from this pile before I move to this one. When there's probably 2 or 3 more I can play before I move to this one. So if I play 3 songs from each of these, I'm counting my head, 8 3s is 24. I've just played my DJ set and then a bit. So I've only really got to make half a dozen decisions when I play that DJ gig, instead of a decision every 2.5 minutes, which is no fun with 7-inch singles, with a crowd you're not sure of, in a situation you've never been in before, right? You've got to make it easy for yourself. So if you take twice the music you need and you play in mini sets, little chunks of songs that you're intending to play together, and of course you don't have to, and you can change the order of those songs, but it just gives you an easier chunk to work with. 10 or 15 minutes, then we're going to switch. 10 or 15 minutes, then we're going to switch. You're not worried about every single 2 or 3 minutes having to find something else to do. So these are the 2 things, twice the amount of music you need and mini sets. I'll talk you through my mini sets for a retro gig where all the music is being played by live bands who are playing music from the 70s, 80s, 90s and noughties. And I'm playing on real 7-inch singles afterwards for an hour. This is what I've pulled out and this is my thinking. I'll give you a quick insight into it. And then of course next week, as I promised earlier, I'll come back, I'll tell you how it went and we'll see how it's going. And I'd love your comments, by the way. So please do come into the comments if you're lucky enough to be here watching this live. Most people watch the replays of these. We'll still chat to you down there in the comments on the replay. So do please ask anything you want to know or give me any advice, but do it before Friday. Loads and loads of people in there already. Hello, DJ AD Foster says it's been a while, but hello the Ruckus and Dan. Hello, Kesha and Mixmaster G, who says even on SL12s and a good mixer, playing 7 inches is a different beast. I know it is, but on the ones I'm going to be playing it with, So thank you for that, Mixmaster G. Doc says I spin on both. Don says I'm having to drop my computer off. I'm hoping I get it back before my gig on Thursday. Oh, I hope you do as well. Make sure you spend as much time as you can as early as possible on Thursday checking that computer and making sure it still works. Fisher Price Dex, says Simon. So Serato. Ba-boom. Hello to Baynard and hello to GM, who says, let's go, Phil. Cool. Okay. I've retained one 7-inch single. Just the one, says the Ruckus. Another one bites the dust. Pasted onto a 12-inch. Oh, there we go then. Right, okay, so let's talk through this. Oh, this is mad, says Jonathan Phil, and that's what I love most about it. It's definitely mad. It's probably why I'm so scared of it. Right, let's have a look at the singles. So this is what I'm thinking for my gig, and I'd love your thoughts on this, people. These are my kind of 8 areas. This area up here is my kind of disco. So I've got this is Clubhouse Do It Again medley with Billie Jean, which is a track from 1980, I think, one of the very first mashups I can ever remember, actually. And it is what it says. It's the Billie Jean bass line, but with Steely Dan's Do It Again over the top. So that's one of them. I've got We Are Family by Sister Sledge. I've got Spacer by Sheila B. and Devotion. DeBarge, Rhythm of the Night, and Diana Ross, Upside Down. Very mainstream, arguably not even a disco song, but you're getting the vibe here, right? I would love to have All Night Long by Lionel Richie to mix with that, by the way, because they're just blood brothers, but hey. 7-inch singles, you've got to go with what you got. So there's a kind of disco set there. I'm thinking, you know, the ladies like that stuff. If I can get the ladies dancing first with that, the men will follow, etc., etc. So then we've got this here, which is a little bit more purist. I like this pile. This is my electro pile. So let's just get a zoom on it so you can see a bit closer. I've got Herbie Hancock's Rocket. I've got IOU by Freeze from the UK. I've got Buffalo Stance by Nana Cherry. This isn't really electro, but I've chucked it in here. Sunshine on a Rainy Day by Zoe. And I've got Beats International, Dub Be Good to Me, which I absolutely adore. So they're very varied, those. And as you can see, I'm not being a purist. This isn't pure disco. It really isn't. And this definitely isn't. This is an electro vibe because I've got 2 or 3 electro type songs in there. So this is kind of like a bit more mixable, bit more dancey. Now we're moving on to the kind of soft rock bit. Remember, I'm playing a gig with bands, right? So the bands have been playing this kind of stuff. I've got Big Love by Fleetwood Mac, big dance song. Betty Davis Eyes by Kim Carnes, famously sampled by, oh, who was it who sampled it? Can't remember his name now. Began with an M, Scottish guy, someone will tell me. James Ingram's Jamo B there, bit of yacht rock. Daryl Hall and John Oates, I can't go for that, more yacht rock. So you can see I've got the kind of middle-aged vibe going on there. And this is still all a danceable tempo. Then we're going to get a bit new wavy. I've got Pat Benatar's Love is a Battlefield. I've got 99 Red Balloons by Nana, which goes slow and then fast. It's always good to have a song that goes slow and then fast. Also got a wicked bass line, which mixes very well with Cars by Gary Newman, which is also kind of new wavy from the 70s, not 1987 as someone scribbled on here. This is an awesome song. I just knew I had to play this when I heard it. So yeah, we've got tempos going from fast to slow, sometimes in the same song, and a bit of a new wave vibe there. I would have loved Martha and the Muffins Echo Beach to go with that lot, which I'm still looking for a reasonable price 7-inch of. Let's move to the bottom pile then. So this is my Latin type set, the tropical sounding type music. So here we've got Dr. Beat by Miami Sound Machine. We've got Papa's Got a Brand New Pig Bag. If you don't know that record, go look it up. It's a crazy song. Gibson Brothers Cuba. This is a Italio disco song. Raul Oriana. Real Wild House, got some incredible flamenco guitar in there. And Oye Mi Canto by Gloria Estefan, a lot of Spanish speakers in Gibraltar. So there's some Spanish language there. This is a fantastic, fantastic song with a classic Latin piano riff in the middle of it. And then I've got a real oddity here. This is one of those songs I'm not sure if I'm going to play or not. If I do play it, I'm sure it'll go down well. The Mexican by Babe Ruth, which is actually from the early 70s. It's a British rock band, but it sounds so awesome, so sampled by hip hop as well. There's so much in there that has been ripped off and used in modern music, so I can't wait to see if I've got the balls to play Babe Ruth's The Mexican. Go look at that. If you're going to look at one song on YouTube after this, go listen to that and play it all the way through. Okay, then we move on to the kind of like more obviously dance stuff. Remember, this is a retro gig. Technotronics Pump Up the Jam. The first note of that, literally the first second, gets a cheer every time. So if I start my set with this in this kind of area, if I start with this one, I'll know if people are in the mood for it, because if I get a cheer on that first note, I can play a few more from this pile. So Technotronics Pump Up the Jam, some old style rave music, Brothers in Rhythms, Such a Good Feeling, Clubhouse Deep in My Heart, a classic Italio house song there, Dario G's Sunshine, if you know, you know, and this is another big pop hit, couple of pop hits from the rave era. We've got some Black Box and some Rosala, and then a couple of more underground songs. Mother's All Funked Up and Two for Joy's Let the Bass Kick. People don't know these, but they're so funky and so immediately infectious. I think I'll get away with them. And this is a good point. If you can, when you're DJing, even if it is a mainstream gig, as long as most of your music people know, do try and play something that people don't know if you think you can get away with it, right? Because these songs I'm sure I can get away with. And so, you know, these are the songs that will sit there, and if I'm feeling good and it's working, I'll have a go at them, but we'll see. I'll tell you next week. So then we move on to, this is the wedding disco kind of, in fact, I'll leave those to the end. So this is kind of like more the Euro kind of vibe. You know, we're in Europe here. This is the Mediterranean. These are the big Euro hits from the 80s. I've got Laura Branigan's Self-Control, which I absolutely love. Total Cheese Fest, but a great bass line. Ryan Paris's Dolce Vita. Again, proper Euro cheese, but a huge hit across Europe. Voyage by Desireless. And then you can never go wrong with Take On Me. I'm telling you, doesn't matter who you talk to, doesn't matter what they're into, everyone loves a bit of Aha. And then we got Michael Sembalo's Maniac and Boy Meets Girl's Waiting for a Star to Fall. If you don't like that, you haven't got a heart. And then at the very end of the pile, the wedding disco classics. I've got Gold by Spandau Ballet, Toto by Africa, and Can't Take My Eyes Off You, and I Think We're Alone Now. One of those might get played at the very end. I've just got a sense it might be Andy Williams, but we'll see how singy people are. So there's the music I'm going to be choosing from, but I'm only going to play less than half of it. This is the thing I want to impress on you. Take more than you need, but not much more than you need. Because within that music, if I can pick the songs there that most people out there are enjoying, if I can say, oh, actually, they're not going to like that. I know they're not going to like that. I've been watching them. I'll play this instead. I've got enough there to do that. But I'm not going to be stuck staring at my box of records thinking, oh, my God. And, you know, I looked at the laptop there because that's what us laptop DJs tend to do. We've got so much music. The next thing, though, is it's no good to just have this music. You've got to get to know it. You've got to really get to know your songs inside out, especially when you're DJing with 7 inches, which is what I've been doing. I've been listening to these. I've got them all on here, like I told you. I know the BPMs. I'm actually, later on tonight, I'm going to go and put stickers on all these records with the BPMs on them just to help me. And I've been playing with them like for an hour every night. I've been just sitting down with just these records and I've been finding a different route through them. The idea being that when it gets to the gig, I'm not worried. I know how they end. I know if they fade out. I know if they end solidly. I know everything about these songs. All I'm thinking about is the crowd. And so getting to know your music is the most important thing here. So that's it. I've got, as I say, I've got a dress rehearsal gig tomorrow night in a local bar. And then I will be turning up to help in any way I can, set the venue up and help them with anything they need help with. We've got digital DJ tips and all our gear here just around the corner. So if they are stuck for a lead or two or whatever, I'm here to help. But more importantly, from my point of view, to set the gear up and road test it and stress test it before they open. And then I'll just be pacing around extremely nervously for 3 or 4 hours until it's my turn to go on at 12 o'clock. And hopefully it will go well and I'll enjoy it. And more importantly, everyone else will enjoy it. That's the plan, folks. I hope I've given you some tips about preparing your own music for your own sets and your own equipment and your own head, getting yourself into space, and the importance of practice, the importance of mini sets and packing sets. But I want to now spend the last few minutes with you, and I will be back next week to tell you how it went. I promise you. Next week's show we will dedicate to how did it go. I might not want to do that show, but hopefully I will. So for the last 10 minutes of this show, I just want to share your comments. As you probably know, we have live comments coming in. Here they all are. So I'll just read out a few and anything that grabs my eye. I'm very excited for you, says the Ruckus. Once you get used to playing in front of crowds, it becomes challenging to find something that brings back those nerves. You find that nervousness is welcome. I know, nerves do tend to come before a brilliant time. And another way of putting it, if you're not nervous, maybe you don't care enough about it. You know, it's because we care about it, isn't it? That we get nervous. Yes, a lot of you saying, why are you using that gear? Well, that's part of the fun. So yes, I could just use modern turntables and stuff, but it's not floating my boat. I want to try something different here. Was a DJ system ever invented with 2 tape decks, says Ian. Go and have a look. Just trying to think of where you can find it online. Maybe I'll dig it out and show you next week. I can show you a DJ that has used tape decks to DJ on. So yes, it has been done. In fact, I've got a funny story for you. When I was 16, 17, we had a disco called Golden Lights Mobile Disco, me and my friend Barry. And we had 7 inches. That's where I got it all from. It's where I started. It's why I'm going back to it. Our record decks were only slightly better than the ones I'm about to DJ on Friday. And I remember them very well. They were in a big coffin case with carpet glued on the sides of it. But we took 2 gigs one night. We took 2 gigs, but we only had 1 set of gear. So I hired another set of gear and we kind of divided up the records, but there was some big tunes that we had to have. And so I just recorded them onto a cassette and I hid a cassette player underneath and we just press play. And so, yeah, it's been done. You, says DJ AD Foster, perform poorly? Not possible. Well, we'll see. Depends whose standards you're judging me by, I think. I think the first worry should be making sure your records don't skip. Well, if they don't skip, I'm halfway there. If the bass doesn't bounce the needle out of the groove, which is the cause of the skipping, that's the issue. So there's videos on YouTube, says Badfoot, of people scratching on cassette decks. Yes, there are. I'd love to find out where they were. Keep dropping Rocket over and over again. Herbie Hancock's Rocket, as seen there, says easy DJ for a solid hour. Yes, it is a great, great song. I've selected a lot of these songs because it doesn't matter what they are, what genre they're in, what year they're from, whether they're cheesy pop hits or a bit more underground. I've selected a lot of these songs purely because they've got really, really solid bass lines. I'm figuring big bass lines, I ain't going to go wrong with a festival crowd outdoors at midnight. So that is the plan. Right, so what else have you got to say here? A lot of you are just spotting the tracks that I was teasing before I actually talked you through them in the first place, or finally, so that's good. Chris says, good luck for the gig, Phil, all the best. I hope the night goes well. Hey, you can still get tickets, people. So if anyone's down this way, you go grab yourself a ticket, buytickets.gi and head over to Gibraltar next Friday. No excuses if you're within driving distance. Come and say hello. I'll be kicking around there all day and all evening, so I won't be behind the decks till the end. You'll be able to find me. Right. So what else are you saying? Right. What else have we got here then? Sharpen the needle, says William. I've actually got 2. Oh, that's another thing we didn't talk about. Take spares of everything. I ordered 2 spare styluses, styli, which I've got in my box. So if anything goes wrong, I can swap the needles out instantly. Yes, good point. So what else have we got? I love your channel. Thank you very much. I hope you're enjoying this. It's the needles that matter to the sound quality, not the turntable. Well, yeah, to an extent, agreed. I'm Italian, so I cook more than enough food for a dinner party and I bring more than enough music I need for a DJ gig. I love it, but not too much. No point cooking for a 50 when you've only got 5 people coming. I think it's probably the same with it, cooking for a family in Italy, right? Cook about double. Am I right, Jack? So how would you prepare the mini playlists when you're playing back-to-back, says Amiable Espina. How often would you recommend to switch between DJs? That's a really good point. If you are playing back-to-back with other DJs, which I've done a lot, I'd say if you can do it every 2 or 3 songs, because you get the chance to mix fully into and fully out of one song, right? So if you play 3 each, then your first song you're mixing out of someone else's, then you get to play what you want, and then you get to mix out of what you want with something else you want and then hand it over. I always found 3 is a good number. And also if you're playing a proper mobile disco where you've got everyone from the kids skidding across the dance floor on their knees in their long trousers that they're not used to wearing, all the way up to the great-grandparents and stuff. When you've got to DJ for that kind of crowd, you really, instead of having 8 mini sets like this, you need literally 3 really big songs in every genre you can think of. And so you'll be switching every 3 records anyway. So it's a good habit to get into, like 3 record mini sets. So yeah, I'd say so. Okay. What else have we got going on here? A lot of you just saying the music you're liking from back then. Electric Avenue by Eddie Grant. Thank you, Iron Preacher Man. Beautiful collection, says Websitey. I like your jams, says Charlie. I'd go with the Gary Newman B-side, says Mixmaster G. Our Friends Electric. I might do. But I do like Cars, I've got to say. Thank you for that. What else have we got? The lesson that you gave using Betty Davis Eyes is actually one of my favourites, says the Ruckus. I don't even remember a lesson teaching Betty Davis Eyes, but I certainly didn't teach it on The 7-inch. I'll tell you something funny about 7-inches in Spain, especially. In Spain, they really do like to tell you what it means. So, for instance, this 7-inch here, Betty Davis Eyes by Kim Carnes, Ojos de Betty Davis. In other words, the eyes of Betty Davis. And that's funny enough. Well, I mean, it's not. I'm not laughing at the Spanish or anything. I just think it's funny. But it's even funnier when you get to this one. So this is Papa's Got a Brand New Pig Bag by Pig Bag. As I said, utterly crazy record. This record's bonkers. Go and listen to this on YouTube. Papa's Got a Brand New Pig Bag. So in Spanish, they've written it on the bottom. Papa tiene una... I don't know. This is obviously something to do with pig bag. No. Brand new. Flamente. Flamente bolsa. Flamente o flamente. Papa tiene una flamente bolsa de piel de cerdo. Papa's got a brand new pig bag in Spanish. So there you go. The things you learn on this channel. The Spanish do like to write what it means on the records, and even printed on the actual vinyl. If it's a release that was put out on a Spanish label, they don't have the English, even though the song's in English, they print it in Spanish. So there we go. Sure, you can find Einstein a Go-Go by Landscape. I love that song, but I don't have it. I do have Da Da Da. Do you remember that somewhere? Take On Me always makes it into an 80s set. I know Take On Me is one of those songs that no one particularly wants to hear until it comes on, and then you think, this song is and always will be a belter, and that is just the law, isn't it? It's the truth. You can't go too far wrong with those tunes, says Easy DJ. Oh, thank you for that. I'm not looking for reassurance here. It's more the technical stuff that I'm worried about. I've got to be honest. It's the technical stuff. Max says, I really want to do 45s again. It's just finding the money. The Rocker says, will it be recorded, Phil? I don't think you realise we're fans as much as students. Oh, you're very nice. I'm pretty sure they'll be recording it, but I'm promising you now, I won't be. I'm going to be too busy doing something else. Hello to Aaron the DJ. Timelessness is the DJ's manifesto. So thank you for that, website-y. And what else have we got here? Kerry Chandler has got tape decks in his Boiler Room mix, apparently. Thank you for sharing that, DJ G. And Jono says, you're showing what's important right there. A knowledge of the genres you're playing. It's easy to have a knowledge of the 80s and 90s when you were 20 and 30 years old in the 80s and 90s. It really is. So you need to include Malcolm McLaren Buffalo Girls, says Ian. I am not a fan. I know what an influential song that was, but I'm not a fan, I've got to say. I remember my mum used to put a coin on the needle head to prevent skipping on her player. Thank you for that. Hello to Hugh in Trinidad and Tobago. So 45s for the 45-year-old crowd. Oh, I didn't think of that. They called me Retro Phil on the flyer. I quite like that. So what else have we got? Try and find Mars, Pump Up the Volume. I know what you're saying, but I'm telling you now, if you play Mars, Pump Up the Volume, certainly for the times I've played it, and then you play Technotronic, Pump Up the Jam afterwards, this is the one that gets the cheers. Don't know why, but that is the one that does it for crowds. I think there's just something about the production on those synths right at the very beginning that rocks it with that. Phil's got Nana Cherry's Buffalo Stance, which was influenced by Buffalo Girls, that's true. So thank you for sharing that. Trans Europe Express by Kraftwerk suggests the Ruckus. I mean, there's so many tunes I want. In Discogs, by the way, I love Discogs. I do recommend, if you don't know about Discogs, I'll show it to you. If you don't know about Discogs, it's a site where you don't need to even need to buy it, but you could buy any of it. You can just use it as a reference to go and look up music, like proper music. They don't cover downloads and stuff. It's just physical music. This is Discogs. And you can just type in what you want here and it will show you. So what we were just talking about then, we were just talking about Mars, weren't we? So, whoops, that's not going to work because I didn't type it properly. And I might have to put the dots in. But so it's M-A-R-R-S, Mars. So maybe I don't, put an extra A in. Maybe I don't need the dots. I'm missing a dot. Right, now it should work. There we go. So artist, Mars. So now, no, that's, oh yeah, there we go. This is it. So now we can see what they released. Well, there was only one song by the look of it, Pump Up the Volume. There's Pump Up the Volume. And now I can see, look, there's 1,700 copies available from 22 pence. So I could go and buy a copy of this now and get it delivered to my door. And I can search copies all over the world. I can search for the quality, whether it's got the original label or a white label or white sleeve, etc., etc. But the most amazing thing about this service is that you can put in a list of your wants. So I've got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of records on Discogs, 7 inches I want. And then whenever I really want to buy something, like I wanted to buy, I ordered it for this set and it cost me a bit of money because, of course, Stranger Things. But I wanted to buy a copy of Running Up That Hill by Kate Bush because the drums are similar to the drums on Fleetwood Mac's Big Love. So I thought they'd be a great segue to put them both next to each other in a DJ set. So I wanted to buy that. And I went on and I found a copy for only about £7, like $10, which I thought was a bit of a bargain. I found a copy somewhere in Germany. But the thing is, a lot of the people selling music on this site, they're not individuals just selling one song. They're dealers and they've got thousands and thousands of records. And the beauty about the site is it will show you everything else they've got that's on your wish list. So if you just go in to buy one song, it will say, as you're looking through, where am I going to buy this from? It will tell you about the people who are selling the music and what else they've got that's on your list. So you can end up going to someone who says, you know, buy 10, get one free, or buy more than £50 worth and get free postage, etc., etc. And you can end up coming out with a proper stash, which has got loads of the stuff you really want. So Discogs, even if you don't buy any of it, you just want to look it up. And here's another secret. If you're trying to get the artwork for the original songs you've got in your DJ library, in your Serato, in your record box or whatever, if you want the original artwork from the original release, get onto Discogs. It's got them all there. You can just right click, save to desktop, drag it on. So yeah, discogs.com is a great site. Well, people, all that's left for me to do is take this lot home, have another hour or so practice tonight, play my dress rehearsal tomorrow, even more practicing on Thursday. I will probably on Thursday be practicing my B plan setup. I will be deliberately making the decks go wrong and seeing how quickly I can switch over and DJ from that. And then on Friday, I'll be playing the gig. And then I will let you know next Tuesday how it went and share with you any lessons from it. And I will make them again universal so you can use them to help you kind of de-stress and post-mortem any DJ gigs you play. And I hope together these videos will be fun. It's certainly something new and it's certainly something I wanted to share with you. You know, digital DJ tips, playing on 7 inches on old battery turntables. Why the hell not? It's 2025, anything goes. Right, thank you people. I will see you then. Wish me luck. But meanwhile, from the studios, get good, get out there, make the moments. And until then, bye-bye.